Ethan Carter sat in the shuttle, looking out the small window as the alien world of Xerilus grew larger below. He felt both excited and nervous. This was his first trip to another planet. He was only an engineer, not a diplomat or a soldier, but somehow he had been chosen to join the first human team to meet with the leaders of Xerilus. He wondered if he would even have anything to say at such an important meeting. The shuttle glided smoothly down to the surface and touched down with a gentle thump. Ethan followed the others outside, stepping into a bright world that looked nothing like Earth. The sky was purple, not blue, and there were tall, crystal-like trees all around. The air was cool, and it made his skin tingle a little. The ground seemed to shimmer with a soft, silver light. It was beautiful, but also strange. The human team walked toward a group of Xerilans who waited near a wide, white path. The Xerilans were taller than humans and very slim, with smooth silver skin and long, dark hair. Their eyes glowed softly, like they were full of light. At the front stood a young woman in shining robes, with a delicate crown on her head. This was Princess Alira. She looked calm, but there was something sharp in her gaze, like she was always thinking of 100 things at once. The Xerilans bowed in greeting, and the humans bowed back. The leader of the human group, a woman named Linda, began to speak with the Xerilan council members. Ethan stood a little behind, watching everything. He felt very out of place. The other humans were older and seemed sure of themselves, but Ethan was just an engineer. He had come because he understood machines, not because he knew anything about aliens. While the leaders talked, Ethan tried to take in every detail. The palace nearby was made of something clear, like glass, but it shimmered with colors when the light hit it. The Xerilans spoke softly, but their voices echoed in the open space. Everything felt quiet, even though there were many people around. Ethan thought maybe this was how the Xerilans showed respect. Suddenly, Princess Alira turned her head and looked straight at Ethan. He felt his face grow warm. For a moment, she just watched him, as if she was trying to see something hidden. Inside him, Ethan tried not to look away. He wondered what she was thinking. Maybe she was surprised to see a young engineer in such an important group, or maybe she was just curious about humans. The meeting ended, and the Xerilans invited the humans to walk through the palace gardens. Ethan found himself falling behind as the others talked. He stopped near a pool of clear water and watched small, bright fish darting beneath the surface. He heard soft footsteps behind him and turned to see Princess Alira standing there. "You are Ethan Carter," she said quietly. He nodded. "Yes. I'm just an engineer." She smiled a little. "Sometimes the ones who build things are the most important." Ethan was surprised. He had not expected the princess to speak to him. He felt awkward, but she seemed interested. She asked him about Earth and about the machines he worked on. Ethan told her about growing up near forests, how he had always wanted to fix things, and how he had dreamed of going to space. Princess Alira listened carefully. She asked simple questions, but Ethan felt like she understood more than she let. On Dot, as they walked, Ethan noticed how different the plants and animals were here. There were floating blue flowers and birds with long, shining feathers that sang sweet, strange songs. Alira explained that everything on Xerilus was connected by a kind of energy that humans could not see. Ethan listened with wide eyes. He wondered if he would ever understand this place. The rest of the human team soon called for Ethan. He thanked the princess for her time and hurried back. But as he walked away, he felt her eyes following him. He did not know what it meant, but he felt both nervous and excited. Maybe this trip would not be like anything he expected. That evening, as the humans were shown their rooms, Ethan looked out at the alien night. The crystal trees glowed softly in the dark, and the stars were brighter than any he had seen on Earth. He could not sleep. He kept thinking about the princess, the strange beauty of Xerilus, and the feeling that something important was starting, something that would change his life forever. The next morning, Ethan woke up feeling both tired and full of energy. He got dressed quickly and joined the rest of the human team for breakfast in a large, bright room. The food was strange, but tasted sweet and fresh. Linda, the leader of the team, gave a short speech reminding everyone to be polite and careful. She looked worried, and Ethan guessed she was nervous about the big meeting that would happen later. After breakfast, the humans were taken to the council hall. It was an open space with high walls of crystal. The sunlight made colorful patterns dance across the floor. The Zerlin Council was already there, waiting. Their long robes moved softly as they spoke to each other in quiet voices. Princess Alira stood in the center, looking as calm as ever. Ethan tried to stand straight and look confident, but he felt out of place next to all the important people. Linda started speaking with the council, asking about trade, technology, and safety for both worlds. The Zeralin Council members answered. In careful words, sometimes the two sides did not agree. Voices grew sharper, and Ethan could see some humans growing frustrated. The Zeralins looked cool on the outside, but Ethan could tell they were also upset. Suddenly, a Zeralin noble named Vorin stood up. He was taller than the others and had sharp eyes. He pointed at the humans and said, "Why should we trust people who know nothing of our world? Why should we share our secrets with strangers?" The room grew quiet. Linda tried to answer, but Vorin only looked at her coldly. The air felt heavy. For a moment, nobody spoke. Ethan stood very still, hoping not to be noticed. That was when Princess Alira stepped forward. She walked past her own council, past Vorin, and stopped in front of the humans. Her eyes moved over each of them, but then she stopped and looked at Ethan. Everyone turned to look at him. Too, Alira lifted her hand and pointed straight at Ethan. Her voice was clear. "He belongs to me," she said. There was a gasp in the hall. Some Zerlins looked shocked. The humans stared in confusion. Ethan felt his heart pound in his chest. He was too surprised to move or say anything. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Vorin's face twisted with anger. "Princess, what are you doing?" he demanded. Alira looked at him calmly. "I choose Ethan Carter as my companion. He is a builder, a learner, and he sees our world with open eyes. He is not a stranger." Linda stepped forward. "Princess, we did not plan for this. Ethan is part of our team. He cannot just leave." Alira shook her head. "He will be my guest in the palace. He will help me understand your people, and I will help him understand ours. It is time for new ways." The council members whispered to each other. Some seemed upset, others looked interested. The humans huddled together, talking quickly. Ethan could not hear what anyone was saying. He felt lost, like he was in a dream. Finally, the oldest Zerlin on the council spoke. "If the princess wishes this, we must honor her choice. The human Ethan Carter will stay as her companion." Linda walked over to Ethan and spoke quietly. "Are you all right?" Ethan nodded slowly, though he was still in shock. "I think so. I didn't expect this is," Linda sighed. "We will talk more later. For now, just be careful." Alira smiled at Ethan. "Come with me." He followed her out of the hall and into the palace. The halls were quiet, filled with the soft glow of crystal lights. Servants bowed as Alira passed. She did not speak until they reached a small garden. There she turned to Ethan and said, "I am sorry if this surprised you, but I saw something special in you. Zerulus needs friends, not just deals." Ethan did not know what to say. He felt nervous, but also a little proud. He had always wanted to do something important. Now he was part of something bigger than he had ever imagined. They sat together in the garden, surrounded by strange flowers and singing birds. Alira told Ethan about the old ways of Zeralus, where leaders chose companions to help them learn new things. She said she believed humans and Zeralins could help each other grow. Ethan listened closely, feeling a little less afraid. Maybe this was his chance to prove himself not just as an engineer, but as someone who could build trust between worlds. As the sun set, Alira promised to help Ethan learn the ways of the palace. She would protect him as long as he stayed by her side. Ethan looked out at the bright colors of the alien sky and realized his life had changed in a way he never could have expected. Ethan did not sleep much that night. He lay on his new bed in the palace, listening to the quiet sounds around him. Sometimes he heard music from far away, and sometimes he heard voices speaking softly in the halls. He felt lonely but also excited. This place was so different from Earth. He kept thinking about the words Princess Alira had said in front of everyone. He wondered what would happen next. In the morning, a servant brought him breakfast. The servant was polite but quiet, and Ethan could tell he was being watched closely. After he ate, Alira came to see him. She smiled and told him they would walk through the palace together so he could learn about Xerilus and its people. As they walked, Alira pointed out the different rooms. There was a library filled with floating books, a music room where sounds danced like light, and a workshop where Xeralans built new machines using their minds and hands. Everything was clean and shining. The people they passed bowed to Alira, but they looked at Ethan with curiosity. He tried to be polite and smile, but he felt out of place. He worried that he might do something wrong and upset everyone. Alira showed him a garden full of bright flowers and strange fruits. Some of the plants glowed softly, and birds with silver feathers flew overhead. She picked a blue fruit and gave it to Ethan. It tasted sweet like nothing he had tried before. She told him the garden was special because it showed how Xerilus cared for living things. They believed that every life, even the smallest plant, had value. Ethan liked listening to Alira talk about her home. She told stories about growing up in the palace, learning about the old ways, and watching the stars at night. She wanted to know more about Earth, too. Ethan told her about his childhood, about building small robots and fixing broken things, about his family and friends back home. Sometimes he missed them a lot. But talking with Alira made him feel less alone. Later, Alira brought Ethan to a big hall where the council met. She explained that being her companion meant he needed to understand how decisions were made. The council members asked Ethan questions about human life. Some were friendly, but others were not. One council member asked why humans fought so many wars. Another wanted to know if humans would try to change Xerilus. Ethan answered as honestly as he could, saying that humans wanted peace, but sometimes made mistakes. After the meeting, Alira told Ethan he had done well. She said some people were afraid of change, but she believed he could help them see things differently. Ethan felt proud, but also worried. He did not want to let her down. Days passed, and Ethan learned more about palace life. He met the cooks in the kitchen who showed him how to make simple Xeralan food. He visited the schoolrooms where young Xeralans learned about their world. He watched as Alira used her psychic powers to move small objects and heal sick animals. Ethan was amazed by what she could do. He tried to understand how it worked, but Alira explained it was something you felt in your heart, not something you could build or fix. Sometimes Ethan felt homesick. He missed the sound of rain and the way the trees looked on Earth, but Alira was kind to him. She showed him her favorite places in the palace, and they laughed together at silly things. She taught him a few words in her language, and he tried to teach her some Earth songs. They did not always understand each other, but they both wanted to learn. One evening, as the sun set and the sky turned pink and gold, Alira and Ethan sat together on a high balcony. She told him that being chosen as her companion was not just a title. It meant he was part of her life, and his voice would be heard in council meetings. She said she trusted him and hoped he would trust her too. Ethan looked out over the shining city and thought about his old life. He realized that even though he was far from home, he was starting to feel like he belonged here. He promised Alira he would do his best to help her and to help both their people. As night came and the stars filled the sky, Ethan felt hope growing inside him. He knew things would not always be easy, but he was ready to face the future. With Alira by his side, he felt stronger. He wondered what adventures and challenges tomorrow would bring, but for now, he was content to sit in the peaceful darkness and listen to the gentle songs of Xerilus. Ethan woke up early and saw that the sky was gray. There was a gentle rain falling which made him think of home. He stood by the window for a long time, feeling calm. He remembered his family and his friends on Earth, but he did not feel sad. Xerilus was starting to feel a little bit like home now. He washed his face, got dressed, and waited for someone to call him for breakfast. When he walked to the dining hall, Princess Alira was waiting for him. She greeted him with a smile and asked if he had slept well. They sat together at a small table with many bright fruits and warm bread. Alira seemed happy, but there was something serious in her eyes. She told Ethan that today they would meet with the palace teachers to learn more about Xeralan technology and history. Ethan felt excited. He wanted to know as much as he could about this new world. After breakfast, they walked through the palace halls to a classroom where two Xeralan teachers waited. The first teacher showed them small machines that floated and moved with energy from the air. Ethan was amazed. He asked many questions. The teacher smiled and explained that Xeralan machines worked with a special kind of energy called the flow, which was part of everything on their planet. Humans could not feel the flow, but Xeralans could use it to move things and share thoughts. The second teacher told them stories about the history of Xeralis. Long ago, there had been wars between the different cities, but the people learned to trust each other and use the flow to make peace. Now, Xeralis was strong and calm, but there were still some people who were afraid of change. The teacher said, that was why some council members did not want humans to stay. When the lesson was over, Alira and Ethan walked in the gardens. Alira asked Ethan how humans solved problems on Earth. Ethan talked about working together and listening to different ideas. He explained that sometimes humans made mistakes, but they always tried again. Alira listened closely. She said she wished her own council could understand this. Suddenly, a guard came running to them. He spoke quickly to Alira in their own language. Alira's face grew worried. She turned to Ethan and said that there had been an accident in one of the palace workshops. Someone had tried to break one of the machines, and the workers were scared. She asked Ethan to come with her. They hurried through the halls and reached the workshop. Inside, a group of workers stood around a broken machine. Pieces were scattered on the floor, and the room smelled like burning metal. The workers looked frightened. One of them said he had seen a stranger in the workshop just before. The machine broke, but he did not know who it was. Ethan looked at the machine. It was different from anything on Earth, but he thought he could help. He carefully picked up the pieces and studied them. He asked the workers questions about how the machine worked. While he worked, Alira talked to the workers to calm them down. Together, they made the workers feel safe again. After some time, Ethan found the problem. He showed Alira that someone had put a small piece of metal inside the machine to make it stop working. It was not an accident. Someone wanted to cause trouble. Alira's face grew serious. She thanked Ethan for his help and told the workers to be careful. As they left the workshop, Alira whispered to Ethan that she thought someone in the palace did not want humans and Xeralans to work together. She was afraid this would not be the last time someone tried to cause problems. Ethan promised he would help her find out who was behind it. That night, Ethan could not sleep. He thought about the broken machine and the worried faces of the workers. He realized that being Alira's companion was not just about learning new things. It was about helping her protect her people. He felt proud that Alira trusted him. The next day, Ethan and Alira talked to some of the workers and guards. They listened to their worries and tried to make them feel safe. Some of the workers were afraid of humans, but others were curious. Ethan tried to show them that he wanted to help, not hurt anyone. He smiled and listened to their stories. By the end of the day, Alira said she was glad to have Ethan by her side. She told him that trust was the most important thing on Xeralis. Ethan agreed. He knew it would not be easy to win everyone's trust, but he was ready to try. He and Alira promised each other that they would not give up, no matter how hard things became. Days passed after the broken machine incident, but the palace felt tense. Ethan noticed that some people stared at him with cold eyes. Whispers followed him in the halls, and some servants avoided him. He knew that not everyone trusted humans. Alira tried to protect him, but even she could not stop all the suspicion. One afternoon, Ethan was called to a meeting with Alira and her closest advisors. The room was large and filled with soft light from crystals. Alira looked serious as she spoke. There are voices in the council that want to stop the alliance with humans, she said. They think humans will bring trouble. One advisor, a man named Varn, spoke. We must protect our people. We cannot let outsiders change our ways. Alira looked at Varn and said, Change is hard, but sometimes it is needed. We must be open to new friends. Ethan listened and felt the weight of the situation. He wanted to help, but he was only one human. Suddenly, one of the doors opened and a palace guard hurried in. He held a small device that looked like a communication tool. "Princess, we have a problem," the guard said. "Ethan Carter has been accused of spying." The room went silent. Ethan's heart raced. "What? That's not true," he said. Alira stood and faced the guard. "Who made this accusation?" The guard looked uncomfortable. "It came from a palace advisor." Varn smiled coldly. "I did. Humans cannot be trusted. They watch us and learn our secrets." Alira's eyes flashed with anger. "This is a lie. Ethan has done nothing wrong." But the council was divided. Some believed Varn, others trusted Alira. The queen decided that Ethan must be held until the truth was found. Guards took Ethan away. He felt scared and alone. He thought of Alira and hoped she would fight for him. In his cell, Ethan had time to think. He knew that winning trust would be harder than he thought. But he also knew that Alira believed in him. He had to be strong. Alira did not give up. She spoke to the council and told them about Ethan's kindness and courage. She said the accusation was a plan to break their friendship. But some council members ignored her words. Determined to prove Ethan's innocence, Alira began her own investigation. She spoke with workers, guards, and others who knew Ethan. Slowly, she found clues that pointed to Varn's plan to stop the alliance. One night, Alira confronted Varn in a quiet part of the palace. "Why do you want to destroy the friendship between our peoples?" she asked. Varn sneered. "Because I fear change. I fear losing my power." Alira looked at him with sadness. "Fear should not control us. We must be brave for the future." With this knowledge, Alira returned to the council. She shared the proof and asked for Ethan's release. Slowly, the council agreed. Ethan was brought out of his cell. When he saw Alira, relief and gratitude filled his heart. Ethan promised to keep working for peace and trust. Alira promised to stand by him. Their bond grew stronger through this trial. Together, they knew they could face whatever came next. The day of the royal ceremony arrived. The palace was filled with guests from many cities on Zerulus. The air was alive with excitement and hope. Ethan stood beside Princess Alira, feeling nervous but ready. This ceremony was important. It would show the people that humans and Zerulans could work together in peace. As the ceremony began, Alira spoke to the crowd about trust and friendship. She said that the future was bright if everyone worked together. Ethan watched as faces in the crowd began to soften. Some smiled and others nodded. It seemed like a good day, but not everyone was happy. Suddenly, a group of palace guards rushed in. They were led by the same advisor, Varn, who had once accused Ethan of spying. His face was hard and his eyes were full of anger. Varn shouted, "This alliance must end." "Humans are not welcome here," the crowd gasped. Chaos began. Some guests shouted back, but others were afraid. Ethan felt his heart race. He looked at Alira, who stood tall and calm. Without hesitation, Ethan stepped forward. He raised his voice and said, "We come here as friends, not enemies. We want peace and hope, just like you." Varn sneered and ordered his guards to seize Ethan, but Alira raised her hand and closed her eyes. A soft light spread from her palm. The guards stopped, as if frozen by her power. Ethan saw Alira's eyes open, shining with strength. She spoke clearly, "Violence will not win. We must find peace." Ethan knew it was his moment to help. He quickly looked around and saw a device near the wall. It was a communication panel. Using his knowledge, he pressed buttons and sent an alert to the palace security. Soon, more guards arrived, loyal to Alira. The rebels were surrounded. Varn tried to escape, but Alira and Ethan blocked his way. Together, they stood firm. The crowd watched in silence, amazed at their teamwork. After the guards took Varn and his followers away, the ceremony continued. Alira thanked Ethan and told the crowd that courage and trust could overcome fear. The people cheered. Later, in the quiet of the palace gardens, Ethan and Alira talked about what had happened. Ethan said, "I never thought I would be part of something like this." Alira smiled. "You have a strong heart, Ethan. Together, we can build a new future." They looked up at the stars, feeling hope and strength. Their bond was no longer just between a princess and her companion. They were partners in a greater mission to bring peace between two worlds. After the ceremony and the trouble with Varn, the palace slowly returned to calm. Ethan and Alira spent many days working together to heal the wounds between humans and Zerlins. They met with council members, workers, and citizens. Ethan shared stories about Earth, and Alira spoke about the beauty of Zerlus. Bit by bit, trust began to grow. One day, the queen called Ethan to her chambers. The room was warm and filled with soft light. The queen looked kindly at Ethan and said, "You have done more than anyone expected. You have shown courage and kindness. Now the choice is yours." Ethan looked at her, puzzled. "What choice, Your Majesty?" The queen smiled gently. "You may return to Earth, or you may stay here as Princess Alira's official partner. Your life is yours to decide." Ethan thought deeply. He remembered his family, his friends, and his home. But he also thought about the people of Zeralis, the strange beauty of the crystal forests, and the princes who had trusted him when others did not. He looked out the window at the glowing trees and made his decision. "I want to stay," he said softly. "I want to help build a future here with Alira and your people." The queen nodded with approval. "Then it is settled. You will be welcomed as part of our world." Alira came into the room, her eyes shining with happiness. She took Ethan's hand and said, "I am glad you chose to stay. Together we will face the challenges ahead." Over the following weeks, Ethan learned more about the traditions and customs of Zeralis. He studied their language and their history. Alira continued to teach him about the flow, the energy that connected all life. Though he could not feel it as she did, he began to understand its meaning and importance. Ethan also worked with the engineers and builders of Zeralis. Using his knowledge from Earth, he helped design new machines that could use the flow more safely and efficiently. The Zerlins respected his skill and dedication. As time passed, the bond between Ethan and Alira grew stronger. They shared laughter, stories, and hopes. They stood side by side during council meetings and public events, showing the world that two very different people could unite in friendship and love. One evening, Ethan and Alira stood on a balcony overlooking the crystal forests. The stars sparkled in the clear sky above. Ethan felt a deep peace in his heart. "I never imagined my life would lead me here," he said quietly. Alira smiled. "Neither did I, but now I cannot imagine life without you." They stood together in silence, watching the soft light of the trees sway in the gentle night breeze. The future was still uncertain, but they faced it with hope and courage. Together they would build a world where humans and Zeralins could live in peace and friendship. And so, the story of Ethan Carter and Princess Alira became a new beginning, a promise that even across stars and worlds, trust and love could bring two very different peoples together.